What is up, y'all? This is Mo, and today I got a special video for those DJI pilots amongst y'all, those digital pilots who may have seen a couple of my videos in the past about these digital toothpicks that I rant to rave about. Primarily, it's been walk snail, HD0 as well, and good old analog, because toothpicks are a little bit different than traditional quads. You know, you got that one base carbon plate, and then we build up from there. The problem with DJI has been, you know, we need two boards to account for that VTX on top of our AIO, and then we got the canopy and the camera. We've got a big old stack, so I really hadn't explored that option. That is until today. This is the TuneRC 3.5-inch frame, but they designed this O3 canopy, this O3 mounting system. This is, to me, the first traditional DJI toothpick that I've seen. You could absolutely have built them before. I've seen those before, but this is really the first marketable, I guess, toothpick that at least I've seen. And we're going to go over it today because I didn't want to leave y'all DJI pilots out of the toothpick game. And as a special bonus, TuneRC also sent over an extra frame for me to give to one of y'all. We're going to be giving away this frame a little bit later in the video so you can build your own. So if you don't have DJI or O3, you don't need to build this up to DJI. You can build it with whatever you want. I'll be giving away that later, so stick around. But for now, let's get into the video. Alright, getting into some flight footage here. We're looking at O3 goggle DVR, so this is exactly what I'm seeing as the pilot. Normal color profile, no stabilization, of course. You know, we never want stabilization when we're showcasing a build or bind and fly or whatever with O3, because we want to see exactly how the quad is flying. You'll notice some deficiencies in my tune as a result, and that's one, on part of me not being the best tuner, but two, me actively trying to avoid generating some motor heat. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but I do think these motors are a little bit too small for at least how I plan to fly this quad, which is slightly more aggressively. You know, we're asking a lot of small motors, these 1104s. You know, we're asking to spin up a 3.5-inch tri-bladed prop, despite it being a lower pitched prop. We're also asking it to carry a full O3 along with the 3.5-inch frame itself. So I think these motors are really being pushed to their limit. More on the motors later at the desk portion of the video. But I am flying a 450 mAh 4S battery here. Especially with the motors, this is about as big of a battery as you'd want to go. We end up getting over 4 minutes of flight time here, which is as much as you can expect from a platform like this. And we really can't take any unnecessary weight in the form of a larger battery. So 450 is the maximum I'm going to say for this build specifically. You could even go 380 if you got one, or if you don't mind the reduced flight time. wouldn't be a bad decision. But this is a pretty standard toothpick experience, which I haven't experienced before, at least on the DJI system. You know, most of my toothpicks are built up on analog or walk snail or even HD0, given the fact that we only need really one board, you know, an analog VTX or a single board HD VTX. DJI has always been something I didn't really want to experiment with because on a traditional toothpick we have that bottom plate and we have to build up from that point. TuneRC does a really good job at providing, you know, this canopy that just plop the O3 right in and you're ready to go. And what I mean by a traditional toothpick flight experience is that it's generally more floaty than a normal quad. You know, we have these larger props carrying what is all things considered a lighter platform. So we have that extra float. We have drift around the corners. At least on bi-blades, it's not so much present on the tri-blades. They're generally quiet, they're generally efficient, and they're generally lightweight. And this does check all the boxes. So this is a really great flight experience, especially for those of you who have DJI and really want a toothpick that is DJI. I would just make a couple of changes to this build, so definitely stick around to the desk portion if you're interested in building it. But yeah, man, I love the toothpicks. This is probably my favorite FPV platform in general. It just can do so much. They fly so well. You know, this is a higher cell count toothpick. I usually go about 2S, but they all have just very enjoyable to me flight characteristics. And if you don't have one built, you really should build one up. This frame is a pretty good choice. It has individually replaceable arms, so if you do end up breaking an arm, despite it being, you know, 3 millimeters thick, if you're on a heavier platform like DJI O3, that might happen if you had some bad crashes. You can replace the individual arms, which is a big win. You might have to disassemble a good portion of the frame to get to those arms to replace, but hey, you still can replace them. That's pretty darn good. As you see, we do have props in view here. They're in the bottom portion of the screen. This is a normal 4.3, so they're a little bit more prominent than they would be on 16.9. But that's toothpick life, baby. They're always going to be in your FPV feed. I kind of like it. I get used to it. I don't even notice them when I'm flying. It makes me feel like I'm part of that aircraft as well. So, you know, I know O3 and props may not mix, but I was concerned with the motors being hot. This one's a little hot. It's not that bad. I was concerned with the motors being hot because these are small motors. These are 11.0. Wait, what are they? 1104? Yeah, 1104, 3600. And, you know, this is a 3.5-inch prop on an over 100-gram rig. But as long as we're conservative with the PIDs, you could probably even push them further than my tune, but not bad. All right, so here we are at the desk. I'm just going to go over a couple particular things that I encountered with the DJI O3 build. But before I do that, I want to showcase the frame off to you. It comes in this nice little box. 3.5-inch carbon fiber frame, 3mm arms and base plate. Each of the arms are individually replaceable, which is nice. And again, if you get this frame, you don't have to build it up with the O3. All that the O3 version is essentially this canopy and the hardware necessary to get this canopy, you know, above the board and mount it. So the O3 version is just that. You know, you can use walk snail, you can use HD0 analog on just the carbon fiber frame with your, you know, your traditional toothpick canopy. Do I have one lying around here? Yeah, like a B-Brain frame, for example, you know, 25 by 25, you know, picture this not being here. You just mount that up and you get a 3.5-inch toothpick ready to go. And I also want to mention, if you wanted step-by-step instructions on how to put this quad together, you know, be it the frame or this camera cage here, the O3 cage, TuneRC's website has very detailed instructions. They have screenshots of renders, like illustrations that they did. Huge shout out to them. It made putting this thing together a breeze. But I just want to talk about two issues that I have with this build as it's currently built. Number one is the camera mount, or this whole canopy here. This is a beautifully designed mount. Love the color. Love the color, okay. The print quality is super solid, but you may notice that there are no soft mounting points on this canopy. And what that means, and you know, even though we didn't get any jello in the footage, What that means is we cannot stabilize our O3 footage in this current canopies configuration. Now, I did bring this up to TuneRC as I assume this will be a problem for some pilots who, it's O3, it's good looking footage, people want that stabilization, and they did acknowledge that, and they do plan to fix it. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I mean, we could easily do it by just soft mounting the standoff, similar to how Beta does it with their Pavo line, or we could even soft mount the camera by making this piece maybe, TPU or some rubber plate or something like that. Also, the STL for this canopy is actually available on their website, so if you printed your own in maybe a TPU, that might solve the problem completely. But I didn't try that, and that is something you can maybe DIY if you want this and the stabilization before they produce their own new canopy to solve that problem. But that's something to note because I thought that'd be important. And the second thing is the motors. These are TuneRC's own 1104 motors that they sell on their site. I picked up a set to give it a try with this build, and I won't say that it is bad, but I will say that I think for my flight style and maybe in general, they're a bit too small. When we have such a small motor trying to spin up such a large 3.5-inch prop, especially on tri-blades, even though these are lower pitch props, and we're dealing with a heavy weight of the O3 system. This is about, I think, 120 grams dry plus a 450 4S battery. We're asking a lot of these smaller motors. I think if you are cruising around, you're not really an aggressive flyer, you're not going to try to crank the PIDs up, then these motors do the job. But for me, liking to fly a bit more aggressively, I felt a little bit limited as to what I could get out of the tune. I felt my motors getting a bit hot, too hot for me to be comfortable with, and I think that we can avoid that problem if we just go with a slightly larger motor, maybe a 1203 for example. I think we would take away a lot of the issues that I had with this build. But outside of those two issues that I had, this was a great experience flying finally an O3 Toothpick. 4S is a powerful toothpick. It has a lot of the qualities that I like about a toothpick, and it's nice to finally have a really clean solution for O3 pilots to build it up here. So I would recommend you check this out if you're interested in O3. The canopy, if you don't mind having non-stabilized footage, at least temporarily, you can also pick up a canopy from TuneRC. You can also print your own in TPU. That's another solution to see, and they are working on a stabilization fix. Go with larger motors, in my opinion. You can try these for efficiency and if you're going to be primarily cruising, but I would still probably go with a larger motor. Fly it on 450 mAh. I flew this exclusively on 450 mAh, and that was also a limitation of the smaller motors. I'm sure if you have a larger motors, we can help lift a little bit extra weight, such as a 550, but I found plenty of efficiency through the 450, and yeah, just an awesome platform. If you have any questions during the build process, you can leave comments down below, but TuneRC's website should have you covered with everything in regards to what you need to know. And that about wraps it up here for the TuneRC 3.5-inch O3 Toothpick. One of the first of its kind in a pretty well put together platform. I'm just going to go over a couple of things in the summary portion. If you're interested in building one up, I recommend heading back on over to the desk portion. We go over the build a little bit more in depth there, but I just want to mention a few key points, key problems that I ran into with the build. Firstly, the O3 needs some type of soft mount in order to stabilize its footage through gyro flow or otherwise. That's because the gyro in the camera is rather sensitive, and if there's no either rubber or TPU camera plate, or if the canopy itself is not supported by rubber grommets or another type of dampening, the footage cannot be stabilized. In this current configuration, we cannot stabilize the footage. And I know that's going to be a deal breaker for some pilots. I brought that up to TuneRC. I said, this is probably going to be an important change we're going to need to make, and they agreed, and they are redesigning the canopy. So that should be coming. You can either hold off on that, or you can maybe DIY your own solution in the meantime. These canopies, these beautiful canopies, are available to print on their website. And I think if we were to print this out in a softer TPU, we will get a lot of the dampening characteristics that we need to stabilize the footage. So that may be a potential solution, or you can wait until TuneRC provides their own updated canopy with soft mounting solutions. Or if if that doesn't bother you, if you're not looking to stabilize any footage, I didn't stabilize any footage in what you had seen in the video, then it's not a problem for you. Finally, the only other potential issue I noticed were the motors. These motors are pretty small. They're 1104, and this is a 3.5-inch prop and over 100 grams dry weight of a platform. I think these motors are almost too small for the build. I was able to get a tune. I was afraid to push it a little bit further, and I'm not the best tuner, so it could be a me deficiency as well. But the motors started to get a little bit hot. I felt as though it couldn't really handle the prop as well as I would like on a more aggressive flight style for a lighter cruising type of flight style, which is, I think, the primary purpose of this platform. I think they do work fine, but if I were to build this up, I would go for a larger motor. Unfortunately, I think these are just a little bit too small to really handle this build. But yeah, outside of those two particular issues that I had, this delivers on what essentially is a toothpick experience. This is a 4S 3.5-inch toothpick, so a very powerful toothpick, but we still get a lot of those characteristics that I enjoy, which is, a more floaty flight style. It's very quiet, it's very light. You can really fling it around corners and fly it aggressively. You can also, cruise around. It's efficient as well. So this does a really good job. I think if I had just put a little bit of larger motors on here, then it would be a prime example of an O3 Toothpick. I got to give it to TuneRC. The frame has held up as well, and I did crash it. They actually gave me two of their canopies. I think I was supposed to give one of those to y'all in the giveaway, but I had to use it. I'm sorry, because I broke my other canopy. But I was, getting after it with this, and the frame is absolutely fine. It really is. And the O3 is fairly durable when we keep it in a case. So this is a pretty solid platform, pretty solid build. Would recommend it. And one of y'all is going to get to build one for free. Not really for free. It's a frame. I'm gonna give away the frame now. So TuneRC gave me one of their 3.5-inch frames to give away to one of y'all. Now, if you don't have DJI O3, you can still absolutely enter in this. You can build this up with whatever you want. Analog, HD0, walk snail, everything you could think of. Maybe even an open IPC or whatever the new thing is. You could do it. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is like the video and comment on the video. I'm gonna randomly select a comment when this video hits 1,000 views. To reward any of y'all who get here early. I appreciate it. So we're going to cut it off right at 1,000. I'm going to use one of those random online comment selectors, and I'm going to post, I think, like a screenshot on my community page of me picking the winner. I will comment on your comment, but listen, there might be scammers trying to get your information. If I do comment on your comment saying you won or whatever, check my community section of my profile and make sure that it landed on you. You're the one it landed on. If you don't see your name on that page, or I hadn't posted a community post yet, it's a scam. Don't fall for it. I'll try to delete all those comments as they appear. And just as an extra shout out to TuneRC as well, because they did send over the frames here. I appreciate it. They do have an electronic release, a new version of their polyboard. It's 2 to 4S ESC and flight controller combo, so you're still going to need a receiver and your VTX, obviously. But this is pretty solid, especially in the times where maybe some of the boards are getting scarce. A solid lightweight 2 to 4S board for you to check out if you need one. But yeah, I think that wraps it up, y'all. Toothpicks are great. I hope one of y'all builds up one and sees the magic that is O3 Toothpicks. This has been Mo. I'm Mo, FPV. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.